tell you, I'm excited to talk to this guy. It's been a little while, I think. We haven't had him on in, a couple months here. Our man, Rich Franklin. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing real well. How are you guys doing over there?
Hanging in there. How you feeling, dude? You're not too beat up, are you?
Congratulations.
No, I'm not beat up at all. You wouldn't, if you saw me right now, you wouldn't even really hardly be able to tell that I was in a fight.
No, you got to, that one went decision, dude. So it's like, when it goes that way, you're going, oh, man, I'm going to look like hell after this fight.
You know, I've kind of gotten that way since the last couple fights. Like, you know, you're fighting tough guys. Like, my last fight with Dan Henderson, and you just know. It's like, I know that these fights are going to go to decision, and when you're in the octagon for 15 minutes like that, bad things are just usually going to end up happening. You're going to need stitches in several places and possible broken bones and all that kind of stuff. But fortunately, this time, you know, God was watching over me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, plus, you know, you're now like a more high profile guy, and you're a face behind the organization. So they got you on the TV commercials and doing all this stuff. And I guess it's part of the territory. But at the same time, you know, the last thing you want is to be on a TV commercial for some great product and have you know, a busted tooth and a black eye. You know.
I'm trying, man. You know, the funny thing is that I mean, I'm a fighter, so the kind of money you make and all that depends on your ability to fight. But to be real honest, I mean, a lot of it comes down to marketability, and I try. The older I'm getting, I'm like, you know, I got to at least maintain some decent looks about myself so that I'm marketable.
Well, you are definitely a marketable guy, and you know, again, congratulations on the win over Wanderlei Silva. And what did you think about that fight? I mean, you guys you fought at a catch weight of 195, which is, I mean, that's sort of a strange thing. Is that weird for you to do?
I think it's the first time the UFC's ever done something like that. And how that came about, because there's been so much talk about the UFC developing this 195-pound weight class, and I think a lot of the fans are thinking that that's what they're trying to do, and this is their first fight at that. But really what happened is Wanderlei, I guess, from a career point of view, decided he wanted to reinvent himself and move down to 185 pounds. Mm-hmm. And, you know, since my two losses with Anderson, they've pretty much told me that they didn't want me fighting at 185, so I moved up to 205. So when they came to us with this fight, you know, the UFC said, well, you know, we're going to do a fight, Rich, we want you to fight Wanderlei, and he's dropping down to 185. And I said to them, you know, you guys wanted me at 205 pounds. I don't want to fight at 185 anymore. And I said, besides, he's a 205-pound fighter anyway, so it shouldn't be a big deal for him to take one more fight at 205 before he drops.
Right.
And he, I guess, you know, for whatever reason, was hell-bent on dropping down. So, long story short, they went to him. He said, no, I'm not going to fight at 205 anymore. And they came back to me and they said, what if we did this fight at 195? And I knew that I could make that weight without really, like, cutting into the muscle that I put on to be a 205-pound fighter and all that.
So that was a no-brainer for you.
Yeah, so I said, okay, I'll do that.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, I understand that he had some difficulty. He actually had some problems making weight. So I don't know what he would have done if he had to cut all the way down to 205 anyway.
Well, he must have, he must have really hit the sauna right before the weigh-in because, I mean, he was, dude, you saw him at the weigh-in, Rich. He was shredded.
Yeah,
he looked shredded.
Honestly, the thing is that, and this doesn't happen often, but we ended up in the sauna cutting weight together. I mean, it sucks, but you're staying in the same hotel, and you know, this is normal, and the hotel only has one sauna anyway, and you know, usually, you know, some fighters like to cut the weight earlier in the morning, some of them, and I'm one of those guys that I like to go in and figure out how much time I'm going to need, and then cut my weight right before, you know, right there before I have to go step on the scale. And he did the same thing, and we're sitting in the sauna together, and I was like, man, this is just bullshit.
Whoa. Careful.
Now, is there any conversation that takes place between you two while you're in the sauna together? I mean, that is an awkward situation, but I mean, I assume you guys are probably pretty friendly with each other after the fight, but, you know, before a fight like that, is there anything that goes down?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, the problem is that before the fight, tension is there and all that kind of stuff. And any friendliness or friendship or anything like that it's just gone. So when I walked in the sauna, I looked at him and I thought, man, and he, I mean, I'm sure he thought the same thing. He kind of nodded it, and you know, kind of nodded to each other, like, "Yep, well, this is our only option. We both have to make weight."
I must admit, I do like the name Axe Murderer. I mean, that's pretty solid. That's strong. You know, it's. I mean,
you know what,
Ace is okay, but it's no axe murderer.
He's got a cool nickname. I end up with something like Ace because I look like Jim Carrey. And I don't understand that. Like, he's got the cool nickname. He's got the cool stare down. He looks so mean.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I look like an accountant with a crappy nickname.
But let me give you the plus side on the backside. When you're done fighting, Rich, you're so well spoken and you look good on camera, so you'll be able to sit there and be like a Joe Rogan or a Frank Mir and sit there and do some commentating.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But in the meantime, I got a crappy nickname. That's all.
I mean, you know, hell, I go by Spice Boy. I mean, you want to talk about a bad nickname? That's the worst of the worst. But Ace is pretty bad. Is it too late to change it up, Rich?
The problem is that I'm a firm believer in you don't give yourself a nickname. You got to let the fans give you the nickname, and so that nickname was given to me, and I shouldn't.
T-Bone.
I shouldn't go changing it up myself.
Well,
I could do like the whole Apollo Creed thing from Rocky IV, and just come out with like 37 nicknames.
Well, I have a proposal for you. What if we were to rename you? What if we put a bunch of nicknames, we got a bunch of listener suggestions, and we put it up and we left it up to our listeners to rename you? Would that be something you might be interested in?
I'd be interested. The only problem is that some of the listeners might come up with some bad stuff like Rich the Sissy Franklin.
Yeah, they're insane.
Well, we won't choose that one, Rich. We'll make you something cool, like, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know. Like the expert.
The mathematician.
Yeah, Rich the mathematician.
That's actually kind of
He will
cool.
get in the ring.
That is a cool nickname.
And then you underneath it, you put Rich the mathematician. He will get in the ring and figure you out.
You're nothing but a calculation.
One day we were talking about it, and along those lines. This one's actually cooler, but it's along those lines. But we were going to call me Aftermath.
I like it.
You know what? That's actually cool too.
Unless you lose, then it doesn't look so good. Then it's like, here's the aftermath of the aftermath, and then you got, 3 black eyes and no teeth, and it's not so fresh.
That's something where if you're going to carry that nickname, you better win.
Yeah. Well, you've been doing a good job, man. 25-4 right now, your record. The big win over Vanderlei Silva, and that fight was in Germany. And the last few of your fights have been overseas. Is that a tough thing to mentally prepare for? And how are the fans over there?
No, it's not. I mean, I'm used to traveling and all that kind of stuff, and the fans are great. They anywhere I go. I mean, of course, this time, did you guys actually watch the fight?
I did. I must admit, I snuck a peek on one of those websites that I probably shouldn't have been looking at the fight on, and I saw some of it there. Yeah, I mean, there was actually like 2 spots in the fight where I was getting booed, man. I mean, internationally, people just love Vanderlei, and I'm well liked internationally as well, and that's why they keep flying me internationally. I mean, Joe Silva, the matchmaker for the UFC, I keep getting asked this question in press conferences over there, and then, they always say, well, this is the 3rd time you fought in Europe. Do you think this is any accident? And people think that I request to fight over there, and by no means am I requesting to fly to places like Germany and Ireland to fight. But Joe Silva told me, he said, we have to do the title fights in the States, and there are very few people that can carry a card, especially internationally. And he said, you're one of those people, and so we keep using you.
Rich, one thing I respect about you as a person, not just as a fighter, when you show up ready to fight. Like, you show up ready for anything you're going to do, and I respect that as a person, and you're a man of your word. What do you think?
Well,
what do you think? About
I mean, I appreciate that, but honestly, I'm a fighter and I'm a professional, and that's my job to do that. So that's not something that I should really be getting praised for, to be real honest. It's my job to go in, make weight, show up, and be ready to go.
And then I got to ask you about the controversy with Mirko Cro Cop. Dana says he had a verbal contract with him for 2 more fights after this one, and then he went and signed Dream. Now, the Dana that I know, the conversations that I've had with him on and off the air, Dana seems like a pretty straight-up, honest guy, a man of his word. If you shake his hand, that's the deal. Is that the case with Dana, too?
I'll tell you what, I actually just spoke to him on the phone yesterday. I was giving him crap about not calling me back and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, in a joking way, but yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, he's, a lot of people could have something bad to say about Dana and all that kind of stuff. And Dana's a businessman. That's what he does. And as a businessman, it's your job to win. I mean, Dana's a competitive businessman, and so publicly, a lot of times he rolls off like somebody that just doesn't care about anybody but himself. But that I'll tell you what, himself, I'm you know, I've been a personal friend of his now for a